I realized early on that one of the best things I could do for the organization in terms of running it and trying to bring some clarity to the chaos of a startup was creating something that I call the company's operating system. I've heard of lots of other descriptions for this. A lot of companies call it operating rhythms. But I think of it as the place where hardware meets the software so that the software can run appropriately on the hardware, otherwise known as the people in the business can run properly on the business itself. Our operating system or operating rhythms are a predictable set of meetings, communication pieces, leadership groups, decision making, predictable system of those things so that people in the business know what they can expect, what format it's coming in, and when, so that there aren't a lot of surprises. Let me give you some examples of how this works at ReturnPath. We usually do some kind of big meeting, even if it's a virtual meeting, to kick the year off. You need to be able to translate the vision into work steps for a broad group of people and be able to monitor and communicate progress against that plan. Once we set out our annual plan, where do we want to be 12 months from now? We break it down into a few areas and then spend a lot of time on communication to the company up front and over the course of the year. We always try to have the year start with a theme or a rallying cry. Maybe it's a couple different things, but what are the big things that the company is going to try to advance over the course of this year? Then we break that down into a series of specific initiatives. What are the big building blocks of that theme that can start to translate into the work steps of individuals in the organization? Next, we try to come up with our milestones and critical metrics associated with each one of those initiatives or building blocks. And then finally, we produce some kind of reporting or scorecard that lets everyone in the organization know about the progress against those metrics over the course of the year. And then any communication that we do as a company over the course of the year always comes back to that same theme, the objectives and the metrics and milestones, so that we can track our progress as a company and so that people along the way can make decisions about how they're spending their own time and how they're spending the company's money in service of the goal. Once a quarter, we are able to pull up and assess how the business is doing. And we do this in a whole series of meetings and communications that happen roughly the same way every single quarter. My staff tends to do its quarterly offsite a couple weeks before the end of the quarter, where we look at how this quarter's performance is going and do some planning for the quarter ahead. As soon as the quarter's over, we produce all of our financial reporting and organize all of our materials and thoughts about how the business is doing into a book of materials for our board of directors. We then have a board meeting where the management team sits with the board and talks about the performance of the business. We then share that board book with the entire organization, so everyone in the company has that same window of insight into how things are going, what's working and what's not working, as the management team and the board. We then follow that up with executive roundtables so that every employee in the business has an opportunity to sit with a senior person in the business to hear from them about how things are going in the business and ask questions and have sort of anything that's in their head aired or asked. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's an example of a bunch of elements of our operating system that bring that note of predictability and communication to the whole company.